Right, I've hit the button. We're here. We're live.
Here we are.
Here we are.
What a thrill.
What? No doubt. No
Here
doubt.
we are again.
Absolutely no doubt. So, yeah, we're here. Julie's, I don't know, busy, not on holiday, just doing stuff.
I think maybe it's just you and me from here on in, Stuart.
Maybe. But people love Julie, you know what I mean? And I think if anything...
But do they?
Sure. Yeah.
Do they? All right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I'm saying nothing. But, right, okay, well, let's go. Welcome to the Good Brand Podcast. Good is a brand consultancy based in the United Kingdom, where we do brand strategies for businesses that want to grow. And yeah, so today I'm joined with Chris Lumsden.
Hello.
My name's Stuart Steele. We've got another guest. Chris, tell us about our guest today.
So Robert McKechnie is a long-standing client stroke pal. He's been, we've worked with him on and off probably for close to 20 years. But Robert's great. He's got a very, clear-eyed, clear-minded vision of brand and what it does for organizations. So, and he's been, he's sat in almost every chair, So it's good. It's going to be a good discussion.
Well, it's a good chat. It gets very Scottish. This is probably our most Scottish podcast I think we've ever done. So it gets deep in the eyes and the aye. No half.
Fantastic. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right, yeah.
It does get a bit Scottish. All right, well, let's kick off and let's have Robert introduce himself.
Well, guys, good to speak to you. Thanks very much for having me on. I'm Robert McKechnie. I'm the MD of Starrett Europe. A familiar face in the walls of good, and happy to support any of the concepts that you're talking about. I think I've earned the stripes over the years from being maybe an out and out sales guy that was given the reins of marketing, became a sales and marketing director, and then became an MD. And God help those that worked with me. But I think I've earned the
brilliant. You certainly have. And Robert, we go back a long way, don't you? You were one of our first clients when Keith and I set up the agency way back when you were at Norbord. And I think that is what's interesting about you, because you have gone through the ranks all the way up to now very senior. Where brand, where your decision to evolve the brand spun up some fairly impressive commercial results, didn't it? It was a good project.
Yeah, it was a great project. It was a project that not only delivered the financial numbers, but a cultural impact. It was two businesses coming together. We had to find a way, numerous ways, I guess, to bring them together and be one joint force. And the rebranding, the DNA, that was key in doing that. So yeah, it was a great result all round.
There's a number of things we want to talk about, and I think we had a chat. We had lunch a while ago, but we for whatever reason we started talking about clients and agencies and that kind of thing. And you've been a client of ours for a long time, as I said. But you had this analogy which was fascinating that I wanted you to talk about. Firstly, which was, you had this metaphor about the client roles and agency and relationships roles, and you talked about this bridge torch analogy, which I thought, can you unpack that a wee bit? Because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Most of what we want to achieve comes from the creatives, and for me, that's the torch. We sit down, and I'm talking, probably going back a little bit and talking as a sales and marketing director, and you want to go to the board and get something approved, but before you anywhere near that, for me, it was about sitting down and understanding what is it we need the agency to shine the light on. If you treat the agency as the torch, the gold at the other side of the river, we as the organisation need to be prepared to build the bridge. And it's the building the bridge part that creates all the conversation internally. You become familiar with it. You connect the dots with all the relevant people, and you're going to the board to present something that says, hey, we're not asking for permission or money to go to an agency and show us the gold. What we are coming here to do is say, here's what we'd like the agency to shine the light on. And when we know what that is, this is the team, the group of people that's going to build the bridge and deliver the results, cultural change, various different impacts. It has to be, okay, we want the agency to shine the light on the gold. And
So,
we'll
so
build the bridge.
yeah. So what you're saying is like the agency can shine a torch and say, like, in the future, that's what you could be like. If this is your challenge, it could look like this. You could be this. Here's the future state. But what I like about what you're saying is that it's all contextualized in you laying the groundwork internally in order to make sure that you can get there. Right?
Well, it's the biggest mistake we see in business. You know, everyone talks about, oh yeah, but the $5 million question, what did we get from that marketing spend?
Yes.
Well, let's try and set off on the foot of clarifying that before you even spend the money. Don't spend a penny and get your people on board. And for me, that's what changes it.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen a new brand launch or a new DNA? You know, let's talk about Jaguar. I wonder how many Jaguar employees knew that was coming, and how
Yeah.
many
Well,
actually for the first time saw it on the TV or on BBC News. And for me, that's the wrong way.
Have all the posters going out, but if nobody knows what that means inside, it's all just empty. It just doesn't make. You're not going to get any change
No,
if the sales team don't know about it or if anybody there. So I think that's
yes.
it's a good
And
point.
that leads on to the second point, really, which is I've written down as building the business case, and I think that's what you are always extremely good at, Robert. You know that. You know, before you even get to the thing about the pretty pictures, which is a thing, but it's you've done all the plumbing behind the scenes to show how it's going to fit into a wider sort of commercial picture, don't you? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's, again, what you do that extremely thoroughly, and with other client relationships, sometimes it's not quite, that groundwork hasn't been laid, and you pay the price for it eventually.
You always pay the price at the end of it. And what you were talking about there, Stuart, and these, I call them poster campaigns. They're nothing more than a poster. And if that's what you want to get engaged in, that's great. But for me, it was always about doing the homework, doing the research, testing the team. You know, whether you happen to be working with an agency already, your own team, you got to challenge them to stretch them as far as they can go, and you get to the point where, okay, there's something missing from my marketing strategy. This is going to give me some customer engagement. It's not going to improve cultures. It's not going to change the numbers. So what else is it we're needing? And you got to challenge the teams and do your due diligence into what is it we're really looking for here. And coming back to core, some of the key things that came from our due diligence was actually bringing some customers into the room and having that discussion with us. You know, can you be bold enough, brave enough, humble enough to invite your customers in and say, hey, this is something we're struggling with. We would like to have a better approach in the marketplace. We would like to have a better perception. Any ideas on how we could do it? Bringing in
That's a pretty brave thing to do, isn't it?
it's brave, and of course you try to pick like-minded customers,
Advocates, yeah.
but they become a change agent. So when it does come out in the marketplace in something shiny, you then start to have the customer talking to their employees. You have the customer talking maybe at another convention, and they're talking to some of their own competitors, and then they're given alignment to actually the work that they've been involved in.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then, I mean, I think the the nemesis in all of these things is the relationship between marketing and sales. And
Well,
that's,
let's hold that because I want to come into that, and that's one that I know Stuart's keen on. But the thing about the business case as well, Robert, the thing that the thing that always struck me about Core or wherever you've always been very clear about, commercially what you're trying to do, whether that's productivity gains or market share increase or whatever it is, and these are always set at quite a high level, and from that sense, you get a feeling that there's the complete business is behind this because these are big metrics you're reaching for, right?
absolutely, absolutely. And in most of the cases, you're either creating the vision or the vision exists. And then you get into the mission and how are you going to achieve that mission? So when those things are set out, and again, coming back to Core, the number one objective in Core was to become the number one utility business in
Yes.
the UK.
It's a fairly bold, clean statement.
Big statement. But once you've set that stall out of becoming number one, you start to go through all the parts of the business and say, what does number one look like, and what do we need to do? Are we miles away from it? Are we close on it? Where is the weaknesses?
It's a really nice yardstick, isn't it? It's really simple, but powerful.
I think you have to paint the picture. No, you're never going to go to the board where the boards have a number of pressures on them, a number of challenges on them, and say, hey, we would like to introduce this nice new shiny thing, when the shiny thing doesn't have a context to one of the top 3, top 4 goals.
And so would you use that kind of language with the board to say, our stated ambition is to become the UK's number one. Here's the things I want to do in order to meet that goal, and here's the money I need to do that.
Absolutely. I use some football analogy. You want to be in the Champions League, and your first venture into the Champions League, you never win a game. It's then easy to come back and go, we need to shore up our defence. We need to improve our strikers. We need to do something in the midfield. And if that's not marketing, I'm not sure what is, because as you're marketing your defence, your midfield, your striker, but if you need to shore it up, that's the kind of things you would present. Hey guys, let's not go and get beat again. This is one of the things that is going to help us get into and be successful in the Champions League. That kind of analogy.
I mean, as ever, Robert, you see, you do talk a lot of sense. I think what's kind of interesting is that we don't see that sense played out as clearly as you put it out. When you were in more junior positions, did you see it not being played like that? Did you see played, the marketing being seen as the colouring in department? Was there something in your journey that you went, actually, are you off your head? What?
Yeah.
I mean, what was there anything that you saw when you were coming up the ladder that changed your mind about how to do this?
It's a phrase I often use, Stuart, as you know, but sometimes not in the context of marketing. I was really, really lucky in my early career. I started off in the corporate world working for Crown. Crown paints on the Liverpool ball strips at the
Brilliant.
time, and accredited no less by Her Majesty the Queen. It had the emblem, and in an organisation like Crown, what a door opener! What a way to say, even the Queen likes our paint. That you're a young lad, you're a young apprentice, you're a young rep, whatever it happens to be, but you're like, wow. And I think that has carried with me all the way, because if you had joined Jimmy's Paint Company, you're thinking, holy moly, what have I got in my armoury? What have I got to convince a customer? Hey, it's cheap, Jimmy. Oh, it's good, Jimmy. But in Crown, you only needed to say, hey, I'm Robert from Crown. And they didn't care about the Robert part, they cared about the Crown part. So, in answer to the question, Stuart, Crown gave me that belief that, God, if you have the brand in your pocket, you don't need so many tools. You don't need so much trickery. You need a solid brand. And I've been really fortunate to have that all the way through my career. And if it's not been so strong, let's work on it.
Right.
But certainly in the early days,
That's interesting. So because you were in such an organisation for whom brand was, whether by design or by accident or by legacy, was powerful, you picked up on that and carried it with you.
yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned that, and one of the, you mentioned there about getting the right people on board, and the people, because we talk about this, we've written blog pieces about this, and we've podcast about this stuff, and speculated about the nature of and the challenges that exist within client organizations, and why initiatives fail. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because about getting people on board and the right people, because you've been in sales, and marketing, and you've now gone above that. But talk a little bit about what the challenges are there, and how you go around them, or who's up for it and who's not, kind of thing.
The job of collaboration was always the key. Sales guys just don't believe you, and marketing people just don't think the salespeople can sell, and never the twain shall meet. And then you've got operations who will hear from sales teams one day and the marketing team one day, and before you know it, it's just a mess, and it becomes a poster campaign. These nice shiny poster campaigns. But I think when you want to make it as successful as it possibly can be, you need to find the sweet spots that work between marketing and sales. And if you can go to a sales guy and say, look, this is not a poster campaign. What we are doing is going to open up a door that you might be struggling to open up right now. Not in the form of a shiny poster, but in the form of a DNA that comes across to the customer that says, here is an organization from operations to sales, marketing, and the senior team that is fully aligned in what they want to achieve. So therefore, my job should be commissioned and run in the same way. So that's a door I'm opening up for you. And how about, Mr. Salesman, if you were able to get that client on board that you were struggling with, and that gives you 12% growth in the year, how does that sound to you? All right, when can I go and see Fiona on the marketing team, because I'm ready to go with that stuff. And
that's music to your ears, Stuart, isn't it?
I think any brand campaign, I think we've talked about this before, but any brand campaign lives or dies with the sales team, because if they don't follow up what somebody's seen, or if they don't bring it in, it doesn't matter. It's just they're going in thinking what they are selling. When we talk to sales team, I know they don't want to talk to me because I'm changed. So as much as that 12% growth is interesting, they're worried I'm going to cut their growth by 12% as well. They think I'm in the way. Yes. So what any campaign that we do, when we talk to, and sales teams got to be talked to, because what we like to do is when you replay this back, whatever the output is creatively, they can see themselves in it.
Absolutely.
They can go, oh, that was my idea.
Yeah.
All right, they've listened, right? They know that in there. And then suddenly what happens is everybody wins. And so that chasm between marketing and sales going, this is a team sport, guys.
Absolutely.
We're all on the same page. So let's all come together. So no, I'm loving that.
So whenever, that sense of broad support across the business is always really powerful, isn't it? If it's just marketing trying to work on their own, what you do end up with, Robert, is you end up with shiny deliverables, but they don't really mean anything. They don't carry much weight.
In most organisations, the sales team is bigger than the marketing team in terms of heads. So,
and probably more important, right?
And probably different organisations that might change. But if you can find your change agents in the sales force, and before you know it, one region's becoming competitive with the other region, and one sales guy is at the top of the leaderboard, and he's at the top of the leaderboard because he's harnessing the new marketing effort, the new DNA, then it's a game changer, because when that momentum starts, the other guy who wants to be the Arthur Daly of the organisation, he's thinking, why is my old techniques and my old brand and my cheap price is not working anymore, because you've had your customer in and he's gave you some insight that, hey, we need you to be more broad. We need you to be more concise in what you're delivering. The days of the Arthur Dailies are not what we're looking for. So when you can get those change agents and the sales team working with the marketing team, talking to them every day, hey, I've got in with that customer. I've been trying for ages. And he was so excited by our new approach, our new DNA, our new literature, hearing that we're trying to bring cultures together. Wow. It was as if I was having a different conversation with a customer.
And I think another gap that we've seen that you maybe talk to is when, and we've seen this where the sales, sorry, the head of marketing has said, listen, we're delivering 2,000 leads a month to the sales team. We're doing our job. But the challenge was that you talked to the sales team, and it felt like I was the only one crossing the bridge to do this. It's kind of got, yeah, but 1,995 of them are crap.
Yeah, rubbish.
And so what you've kind of then got to do is have a look. So the effort was then not taken out of selling, but of qualifying. And again, that kind of and I was going back saying, yeah, but we only need 5 leads. You know, we only need 5 solid leads a month for this particular business.
That's the analogy about building the bridge. Building the bridge means that you've done so much of the structure. You go so far, and in the ordinary way, the salespeople poo-poo the marketing effort and say, yeah, so what a waste of time that was. We got 100 leads, 99 of them were rubbish. So by building a bridge, you need to go back and say, hey guys, before we build much more, we need to change the kind of lead we're looking for. How do we work together to get that? And before you know it, they're not chasing 100 leads, they're chasing, like you said, 5 solid leads and building more of the bridge.
Aye, yeah. It's it, and it does. Do you see more of that happening? Do you see it less happening? I mean, or I guess the organisations you're in, you're not letting it happen at all, because you need to get the team behind you to work together as opposed to individual.
You said it, Stuart. There's very few businesses, a one-man band or a one person leading it. It's a team sport.
Aye.
And I think everyone enjoys it when the marketing team can say, "Oh, sales guys just won that contract," or the sales guy can say, "Have we just won the GBA award? I can't believe that." It's more motivation than when you get it right than poo-pooing each department.
But it strikes me we're having this conversation, and this is about leadership. This is about you leading an organization or leading, the whole entity and grooming every department within it to be part of it. That's when this really works. It's fascinating. This conversation is really about business in its broadest, truest sense, rather than brand. We're not talking about brand. Brand's part of it. But, and that's what I really love about this. And you said something at the beginning, Robert, about change and how brand can really transform an organization from the inside out. And, whether it's from the receptionist through to the CEO, it gives everyone this lens and this lever to pull for change. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I do think, as Stuart mentioned at the beginning of this conversation as well, about the internal piece is probably the most underrated, but with the most valuable aspect to this.
Absolutely. Out there is where the fight is. Out there's where the competition is. And
Yeah.
if you step out the building or out the office or going out to see a customer and you don't have the belief that the organisation is aligned, is joined up, you have that back office support, you have that motivation and leadership from peers and people more senior to you, then it's a different game. Again, coming back to football, when you go out that tunnel, heading to play the likes of Real Madrid, you got to have a bit of confidence about you. You got to have that moral support, and certainly the DNA or the projects I've been involved with. Let's get it clear internally the benefits this is going to bring. Yes, of course, we want it to deliver results, and we can see that in the numbers. But I think there's also the importance of the employee satisfaction survey. So I talk lots in my organisation about being one team. So if you can have a short survey across your organisation and say, hey, where do you think we are with regards to being one team? Pre and post the implementation of your DNA, I tell you what, you're going to get a different result, because if your DNA can give you the confidence and puff that chest out a little bit, you're going to be a better salesperson in front of the customer every time.
This is why, Robert, when you work with Robert and you do these projects, you can really lean into the design effectiveness work, because he's very keen on the pre and the post, which is what it's all about. If you don't take your benchmarks beforehand, you've got no way to say we've come this far, right? That's part of a huge problem.
And while I don't think there'll be a single marketeer listening to this say, I wouldn't say it, there is sometimes a fear of getting that measurement, because we were talking about this the other day, because sometimes you just don't want to know the numbers, because it's always a gamble to some degree when you start. There's always a kind of fear of accountability. And we were talking about the fact that in general, because marketeers are so busy, one, that's the reason they'll give you. Two, you don't really want to know, because you want to move on to the next thing without any awkward questions about the accountability, about how something's worked. But the people that we do know that we could talk to about accountability are people in your position. It's the CEOs who want to know, has this worked or has that not? Have you ever found anybody being a little bit hesitant at the numbers? And because you want to know if it's bad as well, only to make it good. You're not there to punch people in that regard. It's about building up.
Well, the CEOs are going to always ask, what's my return on investment? And that comes back a bit to the pitch. If you're going to go to a CEO and pitch, hey boss, give me 100,000 and I'm going to grow by X, you're quickly going to leave their office, because there has to be more to it. So when you're pitching that you're going to improve a culture and give the reasons why the culture is maybe a bit clunky, you're going to improve the customer engagement and give the reasons. And you almost get to the point by doing 3 or 4 or outlining 3 or 4 things. The number is a bonus. And you can look at DBA award. Yes, the numbers were fantastic, but if the CEO can come back and say, okay, guys, you didn't quite hit the numbers you said you would, but you've transformed the culture, whether that's on a safety level, an operational level, efficiency, you've transformed the number. There's a tick in the box. Generally when these pitches happen, the CEO is looking at a thing that's not measured. You're trying to get your pitch over the line by saying we'll change X, Y, and Z, and we're going to put KPIs in place because we believe it will change the number. And I think that's where, when you're doing the pitch, it's not the sales and marketing guys doing the pitch. It's the people that's been involved in putting the pitch together. So I would have a sales guy there. I would have a customer there. I would have my marketing team there, so that the CEO can ask the question, and what do you think, Mr. Salesman? Well, you give me this in my armory, I'm out there. I'm pushing it. Do you think you can get 12% growth? They might not say, yes, of course, boss, will get 12, but it's on the way to it.
Again, I think that's interesting, bringing that pitch as a team sport. And also getting Chris mentioned something earlier on about you talking to customers, bring customers as brave, but I also, while I know what the point where Chris was making, but it's also essential. What other option do you have to make this? Otherwise, it's just your own bias being played. You need to bring a customer voice in there, and to have a customer almost as part of the pitch to kind of go, listen, we recognise this as a friendly voice who wants you to succeed. I think that bringing a team sport to a pitch, I think, is a really interesting idea.
No, and everyone knows if you can grab a statement, a testimonial from a customer, hey, we're launching a new corporate DNA, and you've got customer testaments in there. Wow, you've empowered it.
Well, and equally, I've always said this. I think if you involve customers in that process of change or improvement with your own business or brand, you're bringing them in to become advocates, and it's doing your own marketing for you. Because what customer's going to say, Well, I don't think they should be doing that. They're going to be impressed that you're spending money to improve your customer service, your brand, your whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And that carries a message in itself. So it's a no-brainer, really.
Absolutely.
What do you think it is, Robert, that's made you and allowed you to keep such a strong sort of commercial view, strategic perspective on brand, and knowing how and when to deploy it?
I've always felt in our environment, you want all the tools, all the weapons, all the armory when you go out there, because you've got competitors, you've got people that are quick to step in your shoes and can deliver as equally, if not a better job. And you want all the tools you can get. And I've always viewed it that there is no bigger tool than the brand. And I touched on that when I spoke about Crown. And I genuinely believe the worse the brand is, the more tools you need, the more gimmicks you need. Having a solid foundation, a brand that speaks for the organisation is way better than most of the tools and gimmicks that people go out there with. Well, whether that's price, whether that's superior quality, whatever it happens to be, the investment in tools, if you like, has to be the brand. You have to start there. Weak brands have all the tools going for them. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get two free. Well, where's the strength of the brand?
Yes.
And I think that's, I mean, I did woodwork when I was at college, right? And the master carpenter Ben Barry would go on holiday when he saw me coming in for the 2 weeks of the thing. I'm off over there. But so I'm not really aware of Starrett and that kind of thing, but I know Starrett as a brand. So even, and that's how the strength of Starrett is even, and I know about, I mean, it's weird. It's an interesting because I don't know it, but I know it. You know, it's in here somewhere, you know, and it's there. And that is a strong brand that you've got there. And so the challenge is, in some ways, with that brand is it's not creating a strong brand. It's almost protecting it. Is that the challenge, that, you know, making sure that it keeps that strength?
Protecting it and living up to it.
Right, that's, yeah.
Brand is key when it comes to employing people. You know, like you said, I'm not saying I give you a job, Stuart, after your
fair play.
Like you said, you know the name Starrett. So when you go into the market, people will come with an expectation. They sit in an interview and they go, that didn't feel like a strong brand to me. That didn't feel as though it's a family or there is alignment. So I think it reaches in all aspects, and I really do. I speak in my organisation about living up to the brand. We've done so much work with the brand, and less tools required. So live up to the brand.
It's a nice phrase.
Yeah, when you join Starrett, you got an expectation. You know, you're going to be working for the number one wholesale in the UK. What does that mean to you as an employee?
And I think that's an interesting thing the other way around, is that if you're trying to think about your brand, because we've talked to people before and they just knew it wasn't right and everything else. And I think which is a wee bit nebulous, a wee bit kind of not fluffy, because they know that it's not right, so they do something about it. But that kind of thing is, can you live up to this brand? Is it easy to? Because it should always be an aspiring, driving thing. So I think it's really interesting to think of it as that, because if you can live up to your brand and you can do it pretty easily and it's not a push, I don't know how strong your brand is. It should be as you say, if the Queen likes this, you've got to be as good as the Queen. And I think that's an interesting way to look at a wee benchmark for yourself with the brand that you have currently. Can you live up to it? And if it's
an interesting challenge, actually, to build into the brand back to the team.
Oh, that should be phase 2 of any brand work. You know, okay, we've implemented it. What about phase 2? How do we live up to this brand? Because
I'm really interested in this, because basically there's a kind of thing where I think brands can say things, and they can say things because it sounds good. So, you know, you can say, aye, we're an innovative brand. Yes, we're this, we're that. But the real question behind that is the proof. And the proof has to start by living it. I think as opposed to kind of go, well, look at the 10 products, you kind of go, yeah, but that's not okay. But what about the next 10? Where's the innovation? Where are you living up to in the next 10? I think that's a really interesting. I'm going to be using that. Not going to lie.
We have a strap line in our business, thanks to an organisation called Good, but we'll not go into that because we're not here to sell anything. But when we are looking outward, we talk about nothing comes close, and internally I say nobody comes close. So if you're going to join as the finance manager, be the best finance manager there can be, because that's what the brand expects you to live up to. If you're going to be the best salesman, because that's where the brand is.
One of the things we looked at, and when we've been measuring kind of the success of brand, normally you're kind of looking external. Do you think businesses underestimate brand as a culture motivator? You know, because, and it might be difficult because you've always had it. You know what I mean? If it's there and you've grown up with it, you won't know. But I think from our perspective, sometimes it's kind of lip service, as opposed to finding that little nugget, that wee line that you can use as a bit of a mantra. I just think it's a really interesting way of showing that brand isn't just about selling, but it's about changing internal.
Yeah, we spoke earlier about change agents. Getting your change agents on board to deliver that brand, to deliver that DNA, for that then to become the biggest change agent of all. Because when you've got that, you can hook so many things onto it. Your safety, your recruitment, your policies, because you know you're bringing with it a tone of voice, you're bringing it with it an attitude, and I think where lots and lots of people have brushed over the idea of rebranding, implementing a new corporate DNA, is because they only see that narrow piece. They only see it as a sales number. But when you can add in all the hooks that it can bring, I think that's what changes the perception.
What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self now that you're looking back and you know on all you've achieved? And also, it's maybe the same question but slightly differently worded. What advice would you give to mid-level marketeers who want to try and make a difference? How would you answer? Is it the same answer for both, or?
I think they're different answers. The first one, I was very good at woodwork, Stuart. Just
I might come around.
The first one, you know, I think we've all heard of the saying, you know, you drive for show and you puck for dough. And agency and bridge building come into that for me. The agency is the show, building the bridge is the dough. And my 25-year-old self, I should have built more bridges, because show is great, but when you can build those solid foundations, those bridges, and in actual fact, you get there so much quicker with the collaboration, building the bridge, learning from some of the mistakes. But what other way are you going to get to the pot of gold on the other side of the river? What other way to get there? So my 25-year-old self, maybe you need to ease off a little bit on the show and go and build some bridges.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. Good, interesting. And then mid-level marketeers who are struggling, maybe, you know, in the organisation, they don't have the clarity or the leadership that you know in their organisation. What can they do? Collaboration
and collaboration out with your team. You know, you see so many great marketeers come along, and before you know it, they're gone because they feel as though they're not making an impact, they're not making a change, they're not integrated, and they only do work in the marketing team. And for me, it's that collaboration. You know, go and get some change agents, go and get some allies. You know, you're not going to succeed without the allies. If it's just a marketing idea, sales idea, or it's a boss's ideas, they will always be ideas. And for me, those teams should just look for collaboration. Customers.
Brilliant.
People.
Good advice. This has been fascinating.
Yeah, thanks, Robert.
I've really enjoyed it, Robert. I think it's a real palate cleanser for us, and it's all about we love this stuff. And we've not talked about colours, typographies, imagery. We've not talked about any of those individual elements that we get so worked up about. So thank you so much.
Font, Chris. Font is always
Fonts.
it's always
Fonts,
the
Robert.
emotive
Thank
one.
you.
It's font.
Sorry. They're all the same. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all.
If you end up in the boardroom looking to get money for your new DNA and you've had to discuss font, you've not got your pitch right.
Brilliant.
Another good bit of advice.
You're so right. Great. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you. No, enjoyed it.
So that's
And then
yep. So that was Mr. Robert McKechnie, no nonsense brand advocate.
you get, it's what it says on the tin, right?
What I really like is I like the fact that he understands why he uses agencies. He understands
the torch and
the
bridge.
torch
I
and
like
the
that.
bridge.
But it
No.
was still a strong metaphor, I think.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing, like, where there's a problem over there and we shine the light on it and then they build the bridge.
Yeah.
I think how do you use an agency? I think that's a very
It's a good point.
Yep. Yeah.
I like the stuff about bringing everyone. Robert is a guy who flies a flag and you get in line, or you're not on the team, and I think that's great. That's how it works, right? It's good.
Yes,
and bringing the customers in like that as well.
Nobody can ever accuse Robert of you know what he's thinking. There's no what do you think Robert thinks? You will not leave a room going, what's Robert? Do you think Robert's all right with that?
I'm not sure what Robert thinks.
I don't think so. He sat in the fence for no, that's not Mr. McKechnie. No, but I think that's it, because that's the thing you're always looking for, clarity. You're always looking for
100%.
There, so it's good. No, so that was Mr. Robert
interested
McKechnie.
to see what people think. Yeah, it was a great one. Really clear. Really, and because I think the thing that's impressive, and I maybe repeating myself, but because he does so much consideration and thinking beforehand, before engaging an agency, and that once you're in, the path is almost predetermined, which I think is extremely makes it extremely easy for us. But it shows the work is done on the client side.
Yeah,
a lot of the work is done on the client side,
and that's how you end up if it's what you're into, winning the awards, because that you understand what the beginning is, and then you know what the end is at. And I think it's it's a while since that DBA core submission.
It was a while ago. It was one of the first.
Yeah, and won gold, but he's obviously very proud of it because it just backs up his approach. So yeah,
well, and he's right to be proud of it. I've dug them all out and put some of the stuff on our website, but they are impressive things. You review them, no matter whether they're 10 years old or not. They're pretty impressive documents. So it was good. I loved it.
Yep, great. All righty,
smashing. It's a high bar.
Thanks.
Robert set a
high bar.
Indeed.
Right, smashing. Thanks.
See you
Chris.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.